Dr. Samuel Oledo, president of the Uganda Medical Association, lauded President Museveni and expressed utmost gratitude and satisfaction in political roadway and appreciating scientists' payment consideration by government. This has since been condemned by many, orchestrating a pandemonium on the medical bracket and beyond. Now, on 4th December 2022, the Uganda Medical Association released a statement disassociating themselves from the actions of their president, Dr. Oledo, and his Kololo team, as they called it. And overall, the medics have called for Dr. Oledo's resignation, although as of yesterday, Dr. Oledo was still adamant of the call and resistant to this manner of pressure, to the extent that he called a press conference. Let's have a recap of that press conference.
After he led a group of medical practitioners to endorse President Museveni for another term in 2026 at the NRM's National Youth Symposium on Saturday, Dr. Sam Oledo explained that it was a gesture of appreciation to the leader who has made it a point to address the issues affecting medical doctors and improving the status of Uganda's health sector.
As we are still celebrating the great salary enhancement, the Fountain of Honor and the government hit us with another surprise of CT scans being put in regional referral hospitals.
On Tuesday, the Uganda Medical Association asked Dr. Oledo to step aside and pave way for investigations into his conduct.
I've not stepped down, and due process is going on. I'm still the president of Uganda Medical Association. If there is any other president other than me, maybe that person has resigned. But as for me, I am still here.
Because we already have a petition which came from the members of Uganda Medical Association. They want him to be impeached.
He also indicated that he knelt in his own capacity and his affiliation to the NRM party is not representative of the association.
I had hope as an individual that for sure, if this individual is still given the mantle to lead the nation, he can for sure give and deliver great services to this country in the form of health services. And I spoke this as Dr. Oledo Samuel.
According to Dr. Oledo, Uganda Medical Association is practicing double standards because when he knelt before the police while protesting about doctors' welfare, he was praised. But now the same people have cast stones at him.
At that time it was the welfare of doctors. So there it was about money coming to the pockets. This time, I'm kneeling down to appreciate the person who has put that money in our pockets. It becomes a crime.
It's like a sign of surrendering. That's what we saw, to show the police that we are not fighting, but we have surrendered, so don't manhandle us. That was the interpretation. So the interpretation at the NRM Youth Symposium is also completely different.
Dr. Oledo is confident that his actions will not affect his work or his position in the association. Olivia Kumgisha, NTV News.
Same action, different interpretations. I am joined by Dr. Richard Kalungi to also give us his interpretation of the subject matter. Good morning to you, Dr. Kalungi. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, and good morning to you and good morning to the viewers.
All right. And let's first start by your own interpretations of the actions of Dr. Oledo before the president.
Thank you very much. I'll pick up from what we have just seen or observed, and I'll pick just three things. The president says that we are surprised by CT scans. Mm-hmm. I think as young people, as medical doctors, we are not ordinary people of the society. We are people who are supposed to be exemplary. We are people who are supposed to advocate for the public. And if we are equally surprised by the public, by our systems getting CT scans, getting doctors recruited, I mean, it feels like we are going so low in terms of our roles as doctors in the society. In the same clip, you see our General Secretary, or Secretary General, Dr. Herbert Luswata, who serves on the same executive committee as Dr. Oledo. I really feel that we shouldn't discuss individuals, but that shows you that two people who sit on the same executive committee, two people who are equally doctors, are seeing the same activity or the same event with different lenses. And therefore, what we see is no one says that appreciating anyone is a problem. I mean, this is the fountain of honor. We can appreciate him. But I think as young people, it's wrong for us to look at the fountain of honor like what our elders have shown. That, you know, If you want a new road, you must go and kneel after the or before the president. If you want equipment in your health facility, you must go and kneel after the president or before the president. I feel like as young people, what the actions of these medical students led by our president did in Kololo deprives us of that big opportunity to take up that space. And then what this means is that we get misunderstood, first by the president himself, and second by the public. Because many people have said that, you know, the president is not a guy who is going to be taken advantage of, or is not someone who's going to see you prostrating and say, oh, the Ugandans are well after me. Sometimes the president reads deep into the actions of people and is equally disappointed by what they are doing. So I feel that what the clip we have just shown says that as medical association or as doctors, we need to take up our rightful space to fight for the health system, to be the doctors that are supposed to fight for the public, and ensure that we achieve what we're supposed to achieve.
Dr. Kalunji, so if it's not by kneeling down before the Fountain of Honor, then how are you intending to do that under the association?
I think kneeling down is not the issue here. I mean, if you want me to kneel down before the Fountain of Honor...
In his perspective, that's how he is doing his, fronting and pitching.
I think just like I've just said, we need to protect President Oledo from himself, because I feel that he knows why he did what he did, but he's failing to understand perhaps what actions or what consequences it could have, or what the public could be reading from it. Because, I mean, even if they say doctors are brilliant, you can't be the only single brilliant person in the entire community. This morning I was seeing people on our chat saying, you know, they are going to the markets and market vendors are asking them why they were kneeling. They are going to taxi parks. And not to say that those people are lesser, but if doctors are supposed to be the people that are already defined, then we need to take up a space. So to answer,
unfortunately for you, just to back you up there, unfortunately for you, doctors or the Medical Association is one that has, in the past, and not very far, but recent past, shown that they have the strong will to stand up for what they need to do the job that they have to do, being challenged by COVID-19 and the present day state of the health sector. So now for this to happen reverses all the other, endeavors that have been thereof.
I think still what I would say is, I mean, it's okay for us to kneel. If President Oledo wants to kneel, even if it's daily, it is okay. If I want to kneel before the president, it is perfectly okay. The issue is the Uganda Medical Association is an association of medical doctors. Medical doctors, unlike other professions or other people, no disrespect to journalists, they're the only people who tell that, don't do this, and it makes sense to you. They don't have to even be your relative. If I tell you, please do not take this medication or take this medication, I'm that kind of person that you need to listen to and take advice from. So Uganda Medical Association, which is an association of medical doctors, needs to take its rightful place, first of all, in guiding discourse in the public. We need to see doctors guiding leadership conversations. We need to see doctors taking lead in advocating for healthcare. We shouldn't be surprised by CT scans. We should be at the forefront discussing. If Dr. Oledo says general hospitals are now shining, regional referrals are now perfect, if we took the Minister of Health, if we took the President, the Fountain of Honor, to these regional referrals, is he able to receive any kind of service? So for me, what I see, as doctors, we have always had chance to take lead, not as presidents or as politicians, but as people who are invited to these high-level kind of conversations. So if the best we are now doing is to kneel down and say, President, you've done well, we're endorsing you for 2026. I don't think the president of this country is short of people that can endorse him. And secondly, the president has a manifesto that is implementing. And the president is automatically endorsed by the good works that he does. So if the president gives my people in Muvende a very good road, a very good health system, a very good education system, none of us has to even kneel down and endorse him. But if our doctors, or even ourselves, lose the trust and the respect that is accorded to our clinical court, to our practice, then we lose it all. We lose the trust of the public, and that has a very long impact on the health system delivery as well. Today you see people getting sick and they are going to shrines. Just with the recent Ebola outbreak, you saw people who are in a hospital where you have teams of doctors trained in clinical courts, and someone feels that they're not getting the best service. I don't know whether it's now mistrust in the public system or mistrust in the political system, and then this person runs to runs to a church. So what I see here is that let's not be made to think that discussion is about kneeling or disrespect to the president. No one of us is disrespecting the president. No one of us hates Dr. Samuel Oledo. But this is to say that, you know, as doctors, perhaps this is actually the public is telling us, you guys, you're disappointing us. You're supposed to be sitting with the president of this country, discussing what a health system of the modern era, of the digital era, led by young people could look like. When you go to the US and Western world, and even maybe nearby Kenya, where most of these political leaders actually going for healthcare, their system's working and they're led by Ugandan doctors. So for us, our disappointment and dismay is that we are reduced to a situation of, you know, all we can offer this country is kneel down and ask the president to come down, which is not a problem, and ignore our biggest calling, which is, I mean, giving us good salaries. Okay, perhaps we even need more. I mean, a doctor earning 5 million is good, but maybe they even need more. But that's not a discussion. The discussion is, how do you ensure that a minister of health, a president of a country, a Richard Kalunji is a normal person of the community, is able to enjoy the health system, the medical doctor's service in ways that anyone else enjoys it. And this is so much attached to a situation that if we are spending almost 300 billion per year in political leaders going out for treatment, if we are losing 500 million US dollars in treating malaria, how do we have these conversations with the president? Because I feel that the president, intelligent as he is, he would appreciate us more if we sit with him and show him how his government can save money by having many people not having malaria, because every year we are losing, malaria is a basic disease, but we lose 30,000 people every year. So what is the role of doctors? What's the role of the medical association in ensuring that the public, the political system, the political leadership sees us as that kind of people, not as people who are just waiting to beg for salary enhancement, to beg for, I mean, these are not favors. If a system is working well, no one is doing anyone a favor, because a government system is supposed to work on social services. It's good to say thank you. I mean, if my wife gave me a very good meal, I could say thank you. If I made my wife tea in the morning, she could say thank you. But if she didn't, life goes on. If I must give her that tea, then that's the good thing to do. So
speaking of which, what precedence does this set for the profession in affiliation to politics?
I think number one is it's quite painful that as young people we take the direction of the people that came before us. And I'll just put it as at the point of resignation.
How do you expect the apple to fall far from the tree, Dr. Kalunji?
Oh, I think it's different because personally I do a lot of work in digital health. And I'm still struggling with people who think that, you know, seeing a doctor is going to a hospital and see them. So I know where you're coming from, that many times it's very hard to do things differently in a society which is not used to such kind of systems. But I'll just show you an example of resignation. Resignation is the highest level of maturity and leadership. Because if people are telling you, you know what, Richard Kalunji, you're a very good man, but we no longer believe in your leadership. They're not saying that, you know, you're the worst person, or you're less of a doctor, or you're no longer a surgeon. No. They're saying that, you know what, for now we feel that you're no longer giving us the best that we want. And if leadership scholars will tell you that if someone uses me, I will not resign. No matter what you do, I will not go. You can do all your investigations, but I'm not stepping aside. For me, I feel a lot of pain on my heart when I hear a young person making such statements. But that's one point. If our leader chooses not to resign, the other day I saw another leader who people sat and told that, you know, you need to resign, and I saw him making comments and posts that I'm not going anywhere. So,
well, I mean, by tenure, he has another year to go on his leadership, which is an elective role. So if he has another year to go and he doesn't resign, according to the calls that are coming in from the different corners of the association, then what next for the association?
No, I think for me, I've continuously asserted myself, and he knows this from all of us, that the best possible decision is for him to step aside. And stepping aside, because the other day our leadership, I've just told you about Dr. Luswata, sat and agreed that, please step aside, even when some of us believe there is no investigations to be done. I mean, sometimes the lawyers really take us on the wrong foot. But stepping aside shows that, I did everything in the best, because he says that he did it for the best of the association, even when most of us believe all the things that I've already said. So if he doesn't step aside, that's really up to him. But we believe that we would be losing a very big opportunity to define new mechanism of political maturity and political discourse and behavior. So what happens after that? If the president does not resign, there's systems in the association which guide us on how to move forward. Because our point, like I said, is not about kneeling. Yeah. It's not about thanking the president, and no one has ever disrespected the president in the association. It's not about thanking. It's about what is the nature of the association, what can it achieve. So the association has structures from the National Executive Committee to the National Governing Council, which two he has already disrespected, and the highest organ, which is the General Assembly. And this General Assembly perhaps will give us guidance on what happens in regards to the misconduct and the behavior of the president. And before I close this point, one of the things that is actually largely missed in this is when this event was happening, it's 100% a political event. And perhaps that's why many other people are not invited, because it was specific on who would attend it. And the president was right in his right to attend it as a known NRM cadre, a known NRM supporter. Perfectly okay, no problem with that. But the fact that we saw messages making rounds that behind our backs, the president was promising young leaders, young students, young medical doctors, things as small as refreshments, things as small as transport to and fro. I really feel that if these are the leaders, the medical fraternity, or even Uganda as a country is going to have, then we are up for doom. If I'm going to become a president of this country and tell you to mobilize journalists, and I tell you, tell them I'll give them bottles of soda, bottles of water, that shouldn't be a promise that makes someone to go to a national event and kneel and
Kalunji,
prostrate.
Speaking of doom, where does this leave the future of the profession and the association?
I think doctors, by the way, today, if we had one day to discuss this, I would show you what kind of challenges we have. Today, we are talking about medical education qualities going down, or quality, not qualities. The quality of medical education going down. That you have universities coming up every now and then, and these universities are actually run by medical doctors. Yeah. You have health facilities.
They're not certified, but they've been functional for years, releasing people into society as medical officers. Then
you have health facilities that are no longer providing care to people, because they say that health is made at home, repaired in the hospital. So I feel that even before we talk of consequences in the future, we are already seeing consequences of doctors who have neglected their role in the society. And we cannot let people that, like the current president of the Uganda Association, to make that the norm. So we feel that the future of the association should be doctors discussing and guide how doctors should be educated, how doctors should lead conversations on how health system could be. Because you may find that the things that Dr. Oledo talks about, of 2,000 doctors being unemployed and health facilities being surprised by CT scans, is because as doctors, all we are doing perhaps is to sit down with the president and tell them what we need is 5 million. It's good to get the 5 million, but we need to sit down. I wish the president of the country can actually give us a retreat, say of a week. We sit as medical doctors and the president, kneel before him, thank him, if that will make the sense, but spend 80% of the time discussing the health system of this country and the role of doctors at the political scene, not as MPs or as people are saying who are going to sing NRM or DPOA, but people are going to discuss health. Because health, which is really well maintained, enormously contributes to the economics of the country, enormously improves the politics of the country. Because if an MP does not have to buy an ambulance, which ambulance is not even stocked, then it means that that MP will represent the people rather than confuse them or lie to them. If the president doesn't have to surprise us with CT scans, he will perhaps save some money because the health system is working. People are preventing disease, people are getting treated early. He will even save money on many of his political friends who are going to Berlin and Nairobi to be treated. So it shows you how much a doctor can contribute. The other day we were discussing national insurance. If Dr. Oledo knelt down in Kololo and said, President, we love you so much, you've given us this money, could you please pass the national insurance policy? Could you please ensure that doctors are recruited at this facility? Could you, I mean, even if he knelt for the whole day, everyone would be singing praises for the president. But if he says, you know, us as medical doctors, we've endorsed you for 2026. In my way, that's misconduct. Yeah. That is disrespectful. Because you can't speak for me without consulting me. Yeah. You can't speak for me without my permission. And so we have a big role, especially with this kind of space that we are getting, to redefine our purpose as doctors, to define our position, and to show the president that we are much more than just kneeling and endorsing him.
That is where the challenge is right now. Thank you so much, Dr. Kalunji, for alluding to us the matters regarding the Uganda Medical Association and the presidency. And he has said that if Dr. Oledo is not ready to resign, then they'll take the matters up to General Assembly and then decide a course and a way forward in that regard. But at the end of the day, they must look at the patent issues that are affecting the public health sector, which is one of them, the quality of education of those that are servicing the public sector, the medical workers that we have. It could be nurses or whatever element of contribution